We're back with Matt's top three, and today we're working on the front end.
Now, the first order of business was getting the hood back off. The only reason I reattached it was so that it wouldn't fly off during transit, and I needed access to the engine bay so that I could work on getting other stuff out. So, after some reaching and ratcheting, I managed to get all of the bolts undone, which meant we could finally remove the hood. And yeah, this thing ended up being way heavier than I expected it to be, and I made a total mess of the floor in the process, but we finally had our first step done to getting this car stripped down. Now, the next thing I wanted to do was actually get rid of the front bumper, but I didn't have the right tool to actually get these bolts out. So I decided to shift my attention to the front fenders. Now, the first few bolts were pretty in there, so I decided to go at them with a wrench until I could loosen them up. But once I got them out, I just kept going at it until all the bolts were stripped from the top of the fender. So I did my best to try to pull it out, but obviously there were more bolts that I didn't know about. Anyway, this was the same day that I had dropped the Mustang off, so I went home and came back the next day with a set of fresh eyes. Now, I decided that I wanted to start taking off the front end, which meant taking off this weird little trim piece first. It had one bolt connected in the middle and a few off to each side, so I started on the passenger side first. And I got these done pretty quick, but totally forgot that when I only do one side, the rest was just going to hang. So I propped it up with this random bit that I found from the inside of the Mustang when I got it and grabbed a car jack so I could keep it up. But now we had one side taken care of, which meant it was time to start working on the other. And these bolts were not really in a super accessible spot, and this probably wasn't the safest method, but I was able to still get access to the inside, and before I knew it, I had both sides undone. So all that there was left to do was to remove the car jacks, unhook the lights from the wiring on the inside, and then watch as the first actual piece of this car came off. And yeah, I was pretty proud of myself, so I decided to go back and try to figure out how I was going to get this front bumper off. But because I'm working out of a garage, I lucked out and actually managed to get the right tool. Which is awesome, because I saw online that these can actually get kind of nasty to get out, and they'll actually mold to the bumper, which would be an issue, because then we would have no way of getting the grill out from where it is. So once I loosened all the screws on the driver's side, I used a car jack inside of a tire to hold up the bumper so it wouldn't fall while I was working on the opposite side. So once again, I was lying down underneath the car, doing my best to get all the screws out without stripping anything, while also adjusting the car jack and the tire so that this thing wouldn't fall on me in the process. And just like that, without a bolt breaker or a stripped screw, we got the bumper out. So the last tiny bit I did was just remove the grill. And with it out of the way, this car was finally looking like a project.
Follow this page as I attempt to complete one of my top three.